So we are recording, we always record these sessions. And let me just ask a question out of the group that's on tonight. Had any of you on last week's session? There were two different sessions. One night, Leo talked about goaling and the GPS and the 411. And then also Chris Sapienza and Chris Carafa talked about command. So did anybody have a chance to be part of either one of those sessions last week or both of them?
Yeah, I was on both of them.
Okay, very good. All right, so I'm actually this evening, I want to kind of put some of the dots together, and we're going to talk about some practical application of the goal that you're creating for yourself and how that ties in to building a database and the dollars that are in your database to actually then finding and sellers and converting buyers and sellers. How's that sound? Okay.
Sounds great.
All right, so I'm going to go and pull my screen up. One of the things that last week that you did with Leo is Leo talked to you about, Leo talked to you about building a financial goal, right? You guys talked about a big why, you talked about building your vision, and then understanding financially what type of money that you wanted to make. And I think Leo used $100,000 as his example last week, right? So that $100,000 would be what we consider your net profit. What that means is this is the money that you've gotten after the market center takes their split. You've given your royalty from that commission check, right? So you come out of a closing and you get a check, and that check goes to the market center. And then what they do is they take their portion out because we're part of KW, and they take the royalty out, and then we get a check. Either we go pick it up and ring the bell, or we go and have it deposited in, right? And that money, because we're independent contractors, is considered net profit. So that's before taxes, right? Okay, so everybody on the same page, that $100,000 is before taxes. So I just want to say that out loud, because if you've been in, let's say, the corporate world, you've been in business before and you were used to a W-2, the company that you worked for, they took taxes out for you. And since we're 1099 independent agents, we have to be the ones that are business owners and take our own taxes out. So one of the things that I do, and again, Leo may have talked about this, but one of our best practices is when you're starting real estate is you have your bank account and where you're going to deposit your checks. I actually created a second account, and that's where I put money, at least 25 or 30%, I put on the side just for taxes. And that way I know out of every check I get, I'm putting aside and planning ahead for taxes. And if I don't use it all for taxes, guess what? I get to do something fun. And that fun could be put it in your savings account for future. It could mean you're going to go and buy yourself flowers. It could mean you're going to go out to dinner with some friends. It could mean saving up for a vacation. It could mean a lot of different things, right? But you're putting aside and you're being a conscientious business owner. Does that make sense?
Yes, and it's good to reiterate that it's Social Security, Medicare, state, and federal taxes. Is 4 types of taxes that you need to save up for, not just federal and state.
That's a really good point, because you also want to be able to think about, I'm planning ahead. I mean, you could be young in your career. Someday, you may not want to work anymore and you want to retire. So putting some money aside, right, in an account. And I know, I remember when I was 22 and somebody said, start putting money in a retirement account. And I said, what are you, crazy? I'm 22. But you know what? $10,000, when I put that away at one point when I was 22, has now saved money that's in the 6 figures. Okay, just by putting money away and feeding a little bit every year, right? And so as you get older, all of a sudden it's like, hey, cool, I will be able to retire. I don't have to work until I'm 90. And again, you can decide later on, whether you're, whatever your financial picture is. So it is, it's the way, you know, and honestly, the other thing that I do is, so we have a, you know, my husband and I have a joint bank account that I actually have, besides, I have a savings account, and then I have a business account. That's how I chose to do it. Because what I also did was, I know how much I'm responsible to help support our family budget, right? But then there's some of my salary, actually my commission checks that I'm able to put into a savings account. And then I put my taxes in another account. You guys decide how you do it, but this way I know how much we have to dip into to make sure we're taking care of the expenses, and then how much I have on the side. All right, personal decisions, but it's one of the advice that I got early on in KW, and I thought it was excellent advice. Because you're making sure you're taking care of your business appropriately. All right, we're going to, enough of my speech.
Just a quick question on that, because say for example, if you're saving for the taxes, how about the Social Security? Does that count as well, like putting aside money for that too?
Well, I would put money aside for it. I mean, what I would say to you is it's a very good idea to have an accountant. You're in a business now, you're a business owner. And I have an accountant who does my taxes. So I don't, you know, I talked to him a little bit when I first became a realtor, and I talked to him about the different things. So I would recommend that you talk to an accountant so that you also understand, remember, as business owners, the other thing you can do is a lot of whatever money you're putting into the business is also can be considered a tax write-off. And what happens is, when you understand from your accountant what you can do as a write-off, that actually reduces your income. So you pay less taxes on that at tax time.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. And I go to an accountant. I'm not an accountant, but you want to do things that are going to keep more money in your pocket, and that you're proactively looking at running a healthy business so that you can be happy every day and feel good every day that you're managing your business. Okay. So I'm going to go in, actually, I want to share my screen, and we are going to go into Command first, because one of the things that is really important to do, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So this is my dashboard, right? When we go into Command, where it says Home, this is the first page that we go into, and I'm scrolling down, and everybody see here goals. And last week when Leo took you through, he took you through an Excel calculator, which is an excellent way to start figuring out the numbers. But we are going to ask everyone, and it really should be a requirement of every agent, that you put your goals into Command, because Command, think of Command as, so you're the brains of the operation, right? You're the CEO. Well, you need a chief financial officer, and you need a customer experience officer. And that's what Command is, because it's keeping track of your business, and it's also giving you a way to communicate with your clients. All right. So now you're building a team just by having a system in Command. So by putting your goals into Command, it's going to allow you to track what your goals are compared to what you're actually doing. And ultimately, when you manage your business and you make sure that you are feeding your database every single day, you're going to have a healthier business. You're going to be more on track with your business, and you're going to be ready at the point that you're ready to have a commission check be issued. You're already going to have the system set up. So you're going to easily be able to write an order. So you're setting up a contact to communicate with people. You are communicating with your clients. You are then in position to, whether they want you to list a home or buy a home, so you're putting an offer in, you'll be ready because you have the information so that you can auto-populate DocuSign. You'll be more ready for that. And then the offer is accepted, and you're going to go to a closing. And now you're ready to complete the commission portion of it so a check can be issued. And that's all by really making command your command center of running your business. Okay. So what we're going to do here is that, first of all, has anybody created a financial goal offline? Does anybody have an idea? And you don't have to shout it out. I don't want you to, but
Yes.
okay. So you have an idea financially what you want to do. Have you put it in command yet?
No.
Yes.
Okay, so some of you have, some of you haven't. So I'm going to encourage you, for everyone, is to come up with a number. We're going to use $100,000 as our number today, but it's very important to start the process. And even if you all start with $100,000, the good thing is this is your business. So you start with one thing. Over time, you're going to learn, well, do I want that type of business? Do I want to do less? Or do I want to do more? And the good thing is you get to make those decisions. But you're giving yourself the best place to be able to track your business. So we're going to go into goals. And up here in the corner, do you see where it says goal setting? We're going to go into goal setting. And then when we go into goal setting, we click on get started. And I've already I filled this in and as an example with $100,000, but I'm going to walk you through. So what happens when you set goals? First of all, it asks you, what year are you planning for? And we're in 2022, but we're planning for 2022. We are planning an annual profit of $100,000. And what's cool about command is see how there's like this little I here, and it gives you a description. So what is this number? It's the amount of profit your business earns before taxes and after subtracting cost of sales and operating expenses from your gross commission income. So it gives you an answer right there. Now, expenses. I know it's came up with a silly number here. If you read the MREA book, they use 30% and 30%. We're actually going to use, well, for this exercise, we'll use 30%. But does anybody know the difference between expenses and cost of sales?
Yes, one is the percentage that the market center keeps, the 30%, or the split, whatever split you want.
Yes.
And then the other one is your cost, your personal cost. Like in my case, what I did was I kept a separate worksheet for my overhead cost and left that field with the 10% that I'm supposed to be giving to my coach because I'm in the coaching program.
Right, got it. Yes, yeah, and that's well said. Elizabeth, right?
Yes.
So yeah, so your expense, and another way to look at it, so the split that your market center, that goes into cost of sales. Okay, those are expensive made only when a transaction takes place. So you've had a closing and you're bringing that check back. So that's when they take out the 30%, they'll take out the royalty from that. That's your cost of sale. So that relates to a transaction. Your expenses is your overhead about running your business, whether or not you've made a transaction or not. So those are your marketing expenses, any training or education that you invest in. If your automobile expenses, right? Because if you have a car, that's a write-off. The monthly cost of your car is a write-off. Your training, any memberships, any MLS memberships, that's a write-off. So keeping track of all the different expenses, and that goes into your expense bucket. Now, when you're first starting your business, 30%, that's a high number for expenses. Typically that number runs lower. When you're really starting out a new business as a realtor, I started out, I think, using about 10% as a barometer. Okay. But the MREA book, which is the model, systems and models put in place by Gary Keller, they use 30% as a base. So I'm just going to keep it at 30% for this exercise right now. But you could go as low as 10%. And then what happens is when you have that spreadsheet, like Elizabeth just said, you start building and you start understanding what type of money you're spending. All right, now business makeup. Now, business makeup is really about, is your business going to come working with sellers, or is your business coming with buyers? Typically, your first year out, couple years out, a lot of realtors will work with buyers first. What the MREA book does is say, let's just do a 50-50 split, 50 listings, 50 buyers. My goal at this point personally is to be more 60-40, meaning working with sellers more than buyers. But again, it's a very personal choice. But for this exercise, we're going to just do 50-50. All right. And then the next thing it asks for is an average commission. So for this exercise, I've used about $8,000, $8,000 on listings, $8,000 on buyers. Okay. Any questions so far? Is this correlating to what you did with Leo last week on the Excel? Similar?
I wasn't there, so this is brand new for me.
Okay, no worries, no
It's
worries.
brand new for me too. I had a
Oh.
question. When you're saying 8,000 on listing, is your listing like at 500,000 or, you know, like, are
Yeah,
you thinking
and-
about that number as an average?
Yeah,
Or-
yes, Nancy. So I'm using an average. That's a great question. I'm using that average right now of saying $8,000. It will depend upon, so the two components that come up with that commission would be the cost of the house, right? Whatever that list price is. If you're the listing agent, what did that offer come in at, right? Times the commission rate. So if you're on the listing side, what did you negotiate?
Okay.
You know, so when you think about it, if we go in and we get a listing signed for 6%, but a portion of that goes to us on the listing side and the other part goes to the buyer side. I just had a listing recently. On the listing side, we got 3.5%. On the buyer side, we gave out 2.5%. Okay, so when you take the cost of the house, the list price of the house or what it was sold at, times that commission, you come up with what your commission check would be. I used 8,000 just as illustrative right now.
Okay.
And again, you could come up with that average. Your comment about the average is part of that's a point of view of like where you're going to be planning to sell, right?
Okay.
And I have co-ops that I've sold at 200,000 and I've also sold at $1 million, right? So I come up with an average, and I tend to be conservative because honestly, I'd rather reach my goal and exceed it than not make it. But that's a personal choice. The good thing is numbers are always meant to be reforecast, is what we call it. If they need to change, they need to change. And then you hit next. And then what happens is that what the goal system does is it starts saying, so this is about conversion, right? And you've got to start, when you think about that pyramid, what it's talking about is, let me start, and how many people do I have to talk to? I have to cast my widest net. So it's a lot of people I have to talk to actually make contacts, right? Are you guys finding that? Are you making some phone calls? Are you finding, like you might make 20 phone calls, maybe you talk to 2 people or make a connection with 1?
Yeah, I'm connecting with people, but then when they ask you to follow up, then they stop like picking up their phone. And then
Yeah, me
I
too.
will repeatedly like call, leave message or text them, but then,
It's-
I've been losing them. So I keep still trying.
Yeah,
to
and
get
you're
real quick someday.
Yeah, and you're nurturing. So what you have to talk to, this is a numbers game. We got to talk to a lot of people to ultimately get to, and the money is in the follow-up. So
Right.
things don't happen overnight, but all of a sudden, what's magical about this business is that you're working, you're following up, and then all of a sudden one day,
Boom.
they say, I'm ready. You make that phone call or you send that text and you're like, I'm ready.
Well, I started calling. I had never called before. So this week I started calling.
Good.
What you call a circle? Is it circle?
Circle prospect.
Circle prospect.
Circle prospecting for an open house. And oh my God, I
Yeah.
called like 50 people, maybe 2 picked up.
Yeah.
Everybody was sending them to the voice message.
Yes, that happens. And you know what? That means you can call those 50 people again tomorrow because they didn't pick up. How about that?
Love it. I'm not even done with the list yet.
Yeah. But I mean, that's what you have as an opportunity in terms of, that is gonna happen. And it's like, so, and even if somebody hangs up on you, so call them back the next day. They're not gonna remember.
I love it.
They really don't. They really don't. And it's not personal. It's not because you've done something wrong. It's just the reality of it. And honestly, what you're showing when you do something like that, you're showing them that you're an assertive business person, that you're going to get the job done. You know, they're looking for a realtor. You know, one of the scripts are, do you want a realtor like me, a bulldog like me? You know, someone who has the stick-to-itiveness to keep at it and be conscientious and follow through. So you never know when you least expect it. So you're going to start with a lot of people to call. And so that's why the conversion rate is only 10%, because out of 100 people, it may be 10 that you actually connect with. And you just have to understand it's a numbers game. That's the way it is. Once you connect with those people, the next thing is getting that person that you've connected with and you've talked about real estate to set an appointment. And that could be a preview, that could be going to give them a buyer consultation, that could be going on a listing. It could just be a nurture conversation, you're building rapport. And the percentage that the MREA recommends is 60%. So, you know, if you have 10 people that you now have real contacts with, 6 out of 10, this is saying 6 out of 10 will meet with you. And obviously, as you hone your skill, that number will rise, that conversion rate will rise. So this is just starting at 60%, but as you get better with your contacts, that's going to rise to 80%, 90%. And you may find yourself where, you know what, I get 100%. And then you have okay, I made the appointment, but what about those people who they make the appointment, and it's happened to all of us, and then they cancel? That's going to happen, right? They change their mind, which is now what we're saying, those 6 people, well, 75% of them are going to keep the appointment. And again, that is a number used by MREA. That number will rise as you hone your skill and you get better and better at what you're doing. And then appointments kept to get agreements. And again, 75%, because we know there's going to be some fallout. So again, you're whittling down. But then once you get that agreement, and an agreement basically means that they're agreeing to work with you as a buyer's agent, or they're working with you as a listing agent. Okay. Then what happens is now it's a matter of, now you're doing business with them. So you have to still think about the fact that there is going to be some fallout. So in your realty life, you're going to have, you're going to start an offer, you're going to get an offer accepted. That transaction may not get to the closing table. That's just part of life. So you have to factor in that some things will fall out. So again, the default is 85%, but once you get to under contract and pending to close units, usually 99% come to closing. So those are percentages that are used, and those are all numbers that you can play with. But this is trying to, they're trying to give us some realistic numbers. So once we have that in, and you can see how this is, the funnel is going narrower and narrower as we get closer to our eye on the prize. And we save and close. And now what we have on our command is showing us that our annual profit, so we said we wanted to make $100,000 worth of net sales. To do that, I actually, which is 40% of gross commission income, that means I'm bringing in $250,000 of gross commission income, right? And I'm going to show you in a minute what that means in transaction, because that probably sounds like a big number. But when we break it down and you see what it really means, you're going to be, I think, pleasantly surprised what that really means for you. And then it's taking out money. The 75,000 for the 30% and the 75,000 for operating expenses is taking it out of that $250,000. All right, so 250,000 minus 75 minus 75 is giving me a net profit of $100,000. Okay, and that's again using that 30% and 30%. So once that's in, I click on what's next, and I'm going to go and view my goals. So here's where the magic starts happening with command. We've set our goals. And now what's going to happen is our goals are going to populate. And up here on your dashboard, it's going to show us our goals. And it's going to tell us how many leads we actually need to get to our closing units. Okay, so in this example, let me see what they did here. So you can see here, and I don't know why this comes out to be 0. But this is saying, and this number is actually bigger than I expected it to be. Oh wait, something happened. Something went funky on this. What do I want it to do? I want this to be 8,300 per month. Hold on a second, guys. There's one little thing. Oh, you know what? I think it's some of these numbers are not translating correctly. Let me just check one thing. Sorry, guys. Let me see. As you see here, here's the number that I would expect. See, I want to show you over here. See where it says 100,000? 100,000 divided by 12. That's the 8,333. That's saying that you're closing one deal a month.
That is my goal.
That is your goal. I like that goal. I like that goal.
That would be awesome.
That would be awesome, right? One deal a month. And you have the opportunity to build to that. And you know what? You may also find yourself 1 month, you don't have a closing, but then you're going to have 2 closings the following month. Those things do happen. Right? But what this does is allow you to think about this in terms of saying it's 1 closing a month, right? 1 paycheck a month of $8,300 based on the numbers we used. If you sell higher priced homes, that commission check's going to be higher, right? You sell lower priced homes. If you want to make $100,000, you may need to sell 2 condos to get to that same number, right? So you have to think about that. But those are opportunities with it. But does it make sense with what I'm showing you right now?
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
And let me just see, I want to share, and I want to go back because I don't know why it did what it did as far as not translating to the first page correctly. It didn't like something.
Kathy, and we're able to do this on our own, kind of just follow
Yeah.
through, going
Uh-huh.
through.
Yes, yes. You're able to go in command
Yeah,
and you go into command, you go into your home page, go into goals, and you're going to go into goal setting.
goal setting.
Okay. And what's nice about this, what it does, it'll then tell you, and there's something, I don't know why it's doing this, so I apologize. This really should show that it's 12 transactions. So I must have hit a button. It's not cooperating. But the reason why I want to show you this is when it does it correctly, what starts happening is it starts putting in what you've actually done. So in this example, and again, my numbers are low right now because I need to be in the same boat that you guys are doing. I need to leverage my command more than I'm using it right now. So it's saying, okay, how many contacts do I need? Well, my leads, I need to have 1,000 leads. My contacts right now, I have 4, okay, that are showing up in command. I have more, but I have some work to do. How many appointments do I set? If I'm leveraging command and I'm letting it be my guide in terms of keeping me on track with what I'm doing, that I'm going to be able to show that, listen, I need this many appointments. Well, I better get going, right? And it's going to show me my goal versus my actual, and it's going to keep on taking me through. So ultimately, over time, it's going to show me what my activities, how we're building to meet my goal. So I wanted to show you that because I think it's a really important aspect to start out right with command and to use it to your benefit as a way to track your business, rather than it's okay to like offline have Excel spreadsheets to, you know, figure out numbers, but ultimately putting in command, let command help you drive your business. And then it's one place to go. So the next thing I want to show you is something that is a database calculator. Who's been working on their database? Who's entering people into their database?
I was, and then
I
I
am.
stopped.
There you were, and you
I'm
stopped.
not consistent.
I appreciate that being very candid about that, because you're in very good company. A lot of us fall into the same trap. And so one of the things you have to kind of raise your right hand and say, I am committed to feed my database every day. That is a really important mindset and a really important habit. Let me just show you when the database potential, because when you start to see the potential of your income, it becomes more desirable putting that effort in. So if I have, in my example, can you guys, you're not seeing my screen right now, are you? Let me share my screen. All right.
Kathy, since I had an open house this weekend, and
Yes.
I had a lot of people walking, the people that signed up without no agents, can I put them in my database?
You can, as long as with the agent that you were with, if they said that you had the opportunity to follow up with those buyers, then yes, you should put them in the database. And there's actually a smart plan for open houses. And I would put them in the database, and I would set them up with a neighborhood nurture, and I would also set them up with an open house smart plan.
I'm struggling with the neighborhood nurture and,
I can show you that.
okay,
I can show you.
thank you.
So can everybody see my screen, the database potential?
Yes.
And I share this with you because I was like blown away the first time I saw this, in terms of when you start looking at the reason why it's so important to feed your database. So so at minimum, as a new agent, your goal is to get 150 people, good quality contacts in your database. And that will at least give you the opportunity to do your business. But if you really want to grow your business, you're going to want to be at 500, 750, 1,000 people in your database over time, not day one. But your first goal right now, when you're new, is getting it to 150 people. Now, out of 150 people, I have the possibility of about 10 closings. And that's basically this point, the 6.5% is something that Keller Williams gives us. So it's 10, taking 10 out of the 150. And then I have the opportunity for referrals from contacts. They use 10%. So that's so right now, just by having 150 people that are quality people in there, I have minimum the potential of doing 10 closings, right? Remember we said we needed 12 closings for that $100,000 opportunity, right? So now, just by getting referrals, if I stay in contact with those people in my database, I potentially could get 10% of 150 is another 15 deals. So now all of a sudden I have potential of not doing 12 deals this year. I have potential of doing 25 deals this year. What do you guys say about that?
Love it. I have a question.
Yes.
What do you mean good quality leads?
So
I
good.
have over 300 people in command that I took from my phone book.
Okay.
People that I know somehow and have been in communication with.
Okay.
So how do I determine of those which ones are quality?
It's a great question. And I think that there's a couple of things that I want you to think about as you go through, right? So first of all, the content of the information you have for them. To have a solid contact in command and to leverage command, you want to have their full name, you want to have their home address, you want to have their cell phone number, and you want their email address, right? At minimum, you want those 4 things. So that's just by having them in the content, and that already gives the health of your database in the 80% every time you have those full 4 pieces of information. So if you don't have the 4 pieces of information for all those people, part of it is you start developing a task that says every week I'm going to chip away at getting that information, right? The second thing is, out of those people, and as you're communicating with them, and you should be doing something that is called D2, which is do the database 2. That's contenting people 2 letters a week, and I'm going to show you that in a few moments. 2 letters a week where you're contacting them and communicating. And it could be simply to just call and say, hi, how are you? Or it could be a real estate related question asking for a referral. You're starting to then fine tune who's a potential out of those 300, how many of them are potential to actually do business with, say, within the next 3 months, 6 months, a year, or greater than a year, right? And you start then prioritizing that and thinking about them in that way, right? So that's one way to think your database is out of the people in there, there may be out of the 300, you might find, if you were to write a list, and this is just can do this offline, write a list of out of the 300 people, how many people, if you were to write their names down, do you think that you have an opportunity to do business with? You've mentioned, then they said to you, oh, I might want to buy, I might want to sell. That would be an exercise that you can do, right? And those would be people that would be a priority to follow up with, okay? The other thing you can do is you're building a communication plan. So you can look at the 300 people and you can say, well, who's my advocates? And you guys can envision a bullseye. You ever see, like, you ever go to target practice or do bow and arrow at school or anything? And you have that, you know, or play darts and you have the bullseye. So the center of that bullseye is the sweet spot, right? That, like, you get the highest points. Well, those are called advocates. People in your sphere of influence, people that you know, when they're in your phone, they're people you know. These are people that are going to go back for you. Those are people that are always saying, oh yeah, my friend Elizabeth, my friend Gopi is in real estate. Then you have the people that you know and you may do business with, right? So those are called Mets. You've met them, but you're not like best friends with them. Ultimately, between advocates and Mets are going to be people that you've done, you're going to end up with a client base, right? That are going to be good for referrals. And then you have prospects, because there may be people in your phone that you don't know that well. For some reason, they got in your phone because maybe one time you did business with them, or one time you went out, they were a friend of a friend. Those are kind of prospects. So they're called kind of cold prospects, right? Because you don't know them that well. So you start developing a point of view. Does that help you? Like, think about it?
Sorry. Yes, definitely. I get it.
But you got to kind of have to go through that exercise. And that requires taking some time to think it through.
Yeah.
But then what's ultimately is you're starting to see like what my potential is. Now, the first time I did this exercise when I was a new agent, my number of closings and my number of referrals were 0. So I understand that, but that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. What I did was, because I have that list, I got it from you from, this is my second round with, of career builders.
Yeah, good. You're welcome as many times as you want.
Love it. This is so helpful. You don't understand. I'm like, I never want to run away from you.
Aw.
And Arlene. What I did was, after I realized that there was no way for me to sort my contacts in command by, you know, like filtering them out, like which ones have phone numbers, which ones don't, you know. So what I did was I went ahead and I exported them back into an Excel sheet and I sorted them. So now I'm going through the list and I'm finding out which ones have, you know, all of the information, all of the categories, which ones are missing emails or which one are missing addresses. I'm filling them in and going back into command and just populating it.
Yes.
Because it was getting confused. It was getting confusing for me to do it under command because I had to go one by one.
Yeah, and that's, listen, you want to be efficient. There actually is functionality to do contacts. You can do more than one at a time. So there is some functionality in command to do that, where you can actually see them and you can and you can bring up more than one person at a time too. So if we have time, I'll show you. If not, we'll do that another day.
That'd be awesome.
The other thing is to think about tags, and tags are, so as you're building clients, you're going to have simply a tag that says this person's a buyer, this person's a seller. You're going to add to that tag. So people that you met at the open house, they're not only a buyer, but they're going to have a tag said open house because you met them at an open house, right? Okay. You might have, they're the mothers of the kids at school, right? From your children. And you might have a tag for that. You guys can decide, but think about how you would tag them, how you want to communicate to them, right? The DTD2, you can tag them because every 13 weeks you're recycling the alphabet. So if you do that, then what you're doing is you're setting up a system so that you know that after I cycle through the 26 level of the alphabets in 13 weeks, I'm going to start again. That means I'm touching them 4 times, right? If you think about, we have 26 letters of the alphabet. We're doing 2 a week. So that's 13 weeks. 13 into 52 is 4. So you're touching them 4 times in the year you're connecting with them. And that can be as simple as, hey, how are you? Haven't talked to you in a while. Maybe happy 4th of July might be another time, right? Hey, I thought about you. You mentioned you were looking at a house. That could be another time, right? Whatever, you were thinking about it, hey, just wanted to let you know about the market. You can decide whether it doesn't, talking to people doesn't always have to be about real estate. Let them know you care. Let them know that you're there, right? And it's just communication. It's like, my best friend the other day, she said to me, oh, I was talking to somebody that works for me and they might be buying a house. So I mentioned, oh, my best friend does real estate. Whether they use me or not, that meant so much that my best friend felt that I would be like, she'd feel comfortable referring me. Right?
Yeah. That's awesome.
And really, it's a personal choice, right? If they use me or not. And that's okay.
Yeah.
I just heard a story.
Staying on
sharing.
top of mind.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just heard a story of someone who said she was doing her touches and she had someone who she'd been touching for 9 years. And at the 9th year, they reached out to her and she's now their seller.
Exactly. Wow. Exactly. So, and I know like Arlene had a listing earlier this year. She was in touch with the person for 3 years and then they finally decided they were finally ready to list their house. But that's why you start looking at prioritizing who you work with, right? Is you're staying in touch, but it's who are the people that immediately need your help? Who are the people that maybe once a month you're going to give them that neighborhood nurture? So I'm nurturing a client right now. I met at an open house. You guys may have heard this story. I told it on Coaching 1.0 yesterday. She reached out to me yesterday. I've been in contact with her. She's not ready to list. She's not ready to sell her house. She's actually renovating her kitchen. But within the last 24 hours, we've been back and forth because I've been providing her with some resources. She wanted some names of custom cabinetry. So I'm offering that. It's like, here's some places that you might want to consider. And today I wrote to her and I said, oh, I hope you'll share how it's going. And she's like, absolutely. So it's just a nice little conversation, and awesome. I'm not asking her every time that I talk to her, are you ready to list? Are you ready to list? You're going to list with me, right? We're just really poor. And she's now thanking me as a resource because I had offered to her, when you're ready, I'm happy to help you. She reached out and I was able to deliver that promise I made to her.
Awesome. That's great. I always remember the Ford. I don't know what the D stands for, but I remember like that's how I learned it. Like just do small talk, do the Ford method, and then take it from there.
Right. And it's do the database too is what it means. The D2 is do the database too.
I meant Ford, F-O-R-D,
F-O-R-D.
family, occupation.
So family, right, occupation, recreation, dreams. So family, how is everybody? Occupation, how is it going? Oh, I transitioned to a new job, right? Or recreation, what are you doing for fun these days? Dreams, you know what? When the kids get out of school this summer, what do you want? What are you going to do? Like once we can go back, like what's the first thing you want to do? And you may not get all through letters, but what it does is it sets up a very natural conversation.
Yeah. Okay. The other thing, going back to tags, I know we're running short on time. I just want to mention one other thing. Yeah. I have friends that only speak Spanish. So I also created that tag. I Spanish slash buyers, Spanish slash this, like, or sellers or
Yes.
renters.
Perfect. And
And the smart plans too.
And Elizabeth, that you can also do your listing and buyer presentation in Spanish. So there's Spanish versions of it. So you do not have to use an English version when you're working with clients that only speak Spanish. You want to be obviously respectful of that and make it a very comfortable experience for them.
I did not think about that. I only thought about the smart plans. I have translated a few of them into Spanish, but yeah, that's awesome. That's great. Thank you for reminding.
Yes, yes. So that is available to you in terms of Spanish. So anyway, I just want to, take a few more moments and finish this. But so you see here, obviously, if I didn't have any closings or contacts, then I'd get a total of 25. What are you all excited about, Liz?
She reached out. She didn't go.
Woo-hoo, woo-hoo. Look at you, Liz. You have little faith. Look at that. That's congratulations. Look at that.
It was you, Kathy. You called me.
She just needed a little time, my friend. She just needed a little
And
time.
Elizabeth was just talking about clients that speak Spanish, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I should definitely come up with plans like that. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
By the
that's
way,
wonderful.
Elizabeth, I'm also Elizabeth.
We got two Elizabeths on. Two Elizabeth.
Question, I'm sorry, because I'm newer to, I guess, to everything. I've actually had my license almost 2 years, but I'm a full-time employee and doing very, very little real estate, and I'm flipping the game. I'm going to be a part-time HR person and full-time realty. So I want to know, where do I find those scripts or the Spanish? Because I have a lot of Spanish clients as well, potentials.
Well, you know what, in terms of this, like the scripts in Spanish, I'll have to find where those are located for you. I've seen them in terms of like through, conversations with people where they've said, so let me follow up with that. If you can just, let me put
Share
my,
also, please.
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to change the conversation. I just got excited.
Okay, that's all right. I'm excited for you. So was that Naomi
Naomi, yes, Naomi.
that was asking also?
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Me
Okay.
too, please.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. No problem. We'll figure that out. So it probably won't figure that out until tomorrow, but we'll figure it out. Okay. You're welcome. And so this is just a great little exercise, because what it does is it talks to you about, based on your database. I want this as a mindset in terms of the money's in your database and the money's in your follow-up. So when you build a really healthy database at 150, you have the ability right now, I have the ability based on these numbers to put in another $126,000 worth of additional opportunity. That's additional money. And if I had a database of 500,000, that is almost it's over $500,000 of additional opportunity. So it's meant to really help you think that you have so much opportunity at your fingertips. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So the last thing, and I know we're short on time, but I want to just go for it for a few minutes. May I?
Sure.
Yes.
And I promise that I won't keep you long. But there's a couple of different things. So, tying this all together, what I wanted to do was tie it all together in terms of, you need to think about how you are finding leads, and how you are, once you find them, how are you converting them? But the first step is finding them. And so this particular document here, so we make phone calls. That's one way to connect. We do open houses. That's another way to connect. But you also can think about other ways that you can connect with people. And that can be, so are you a person who you can get involved with your community? I happen to be on the Shade Tree Commission in town, so I'm getting to know people that way. Do you have children in school, so that there's a mom's group that you might be together? There may be business associates as appropriate that you can reach out to. I'm actually doing a webinar tomorrow night for William Patterson University and their alumni office. And I think we have 60 people registered to listen. I'm gonna talk about market trends with another realtor. And I've gotten clients by doing webinars. As we get out of the pandemic, you could also do in-person seminars. How are you leveraging social media to reach out to people? And again, when social media, Are you reaching out to people in groups? So when you're on Facebook or Instagram, are you just doing it as your personal page? You should have a business page, but also, are you connected into groups in your town, in your farm, of where you can make sure that people understand that you're there and that you're a resource? So it's really important that you have multiple ways of creating places for connections with potential clients. And once you do that, it's about then consistency in your approach, which is why Command is so helpful, because once you have them in there and you set them up, Command will help you and guide you so that you can stay on schedule in communicating with them. And we talked about this before. Build your database every day. You need to feed it regularly. You're servicing your clients using neighborhood nurture and smart plans, and the communication is in the follow-up. Unless you are like a mega agent, there's very few people that are going to automatically get a deal the first time out. This document here, and I know it may be a little hard to read on the screen, but what this is meant is as a thought starter, just for you to start thinking about who's in your phone, who do you connect with? You know, my doctor knows.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
We can only see the spreadsheet, not the document.
I'm sorry. I'm talking and I didn't even share. Thank you for telling me that. Let me get that for you. Okay, is it on now?
Now it's on, yes.
Okay, so this was the document that I was showing before. And this is where it's giving you all different ideas of how you could do lead generation, right? So it's not just about calling or texting. It's having events, getting involved in your community, being on social media, right? Doing open houses. There's a lot of different ways. It doesn't have to be volunteering. I volunteered my first year, I volunteered at the local hospital. It's making connections. This spreadsheet, this slide is just representing for you to think about all the different people that you know. So is your doctor in your phone? And when's the last time you went for a checkup? Does the person know that you're in real estate now? And, you know, every time I go to my doctor, he asks me, how's the market? And we talk about, he's always thinking about investing. So I always have him on my mind, right? And eventually I'd love to be able to sell his house if he decides to sell his house, right? So it's like, who do you know? Who do you have connections with? This we talked about. This is the database 2 schedule. So this is the D2 in terms of the letters that you should use. Elizabeth, you mentioned the Ford model. These are really care calls that your things. You can also call and ask for referrals. I've called up and I've said to people that I know, I'm building my business. And so I call and I say, this is a business call, I'm building my business. Who do you know that's interested in buying or selling and investing? Can you think of anyone? Would you consider giving my name? And that's a business conversation. So I set up the call saying it's a business conversation. I've also called people that I've worked with, meaning like, or people that have done work in my house, the contractor. And I said, I'm in real estate. Would you like to, like, if I have any clients that need your services, are you interested in new clients? Yes, I would love that. Oh, and I'll think of you. It's a reciprocal relationship, because then they actually had me list their parents' house. So, but you're planting seeds.
Mhm. I literally just had that situation, which is why I jumped in late, because I'm having my floors done.
Yeah.
And the contractor was here and I said, I have to jump on the Zoom, but we really just went into a deal, because I said, he's an excellent contractor. And I said, you know, and we went into a reciprocal agreement here.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, you know, I've said to a lender I've used a lot, hey, can I count on you for a referral this year? You know, you do what you're comfortable with, but having those conversations, always having business cards in your pocket. Like, I'm at the supermarket. Where was I? I just had to buy a new washing machine. I gave the guy my card and we started having a real estate conversation, because he's got a condo and he's been thinking about selling. So he needed, you know, they ask you for, can I have your name and number? I don't give him my license. I give him my business card.
Mhm.
And, you know, in the beginning, it may feel a little awkward, but what happens is you lean into that and it actually feels really good, because people are like, oh, okay. So I wanted to, I know it's 7 o'clock. Do I have another minute with you all? Can you bear another minute? Okay, thank you. All right. I wanted to go back out to command for a second. Because was it Elizabeth or Liz who wanted to know about the neighborhood nurture?
Yes, thank you.
And Noemi too.
Okay. All right. So I will tell you guys, you know, in that email you originally got when you started, it doesn't matter whether you started yesterday or you started 6 months ago. You have an email from Scott Leroy, and they have, if you go onto Scott Leroy's website, they have amazing training and amazing information about setting up command, about using all the different systems. I'm going to highly encourage you to go in and go back. If you haven't taken advantage of that training, do it. Take the time. It doesn't take a long time to do, and you can carve out time every day to do it. Have spare time, but you are going to be stronger and better equipped to be ready to go when a client is ready to do business with you.
Sorry.
So I know I'm on a little bit of a soapbox, but
What's the name of that video? Do you know?
it's Scott Leroy Marketing. And you would have originally gotten an email from
So
Scott
many
Leroy.
videos. So
and
many.
He's got a whole site. He's got a whole site.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has a YouTube page, and they're wonderful. They have challenges too, and they have like 66, your first 66 days,
Yeah.
first round, second round, and whatever.
Yeah, the 30 days. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so you see that this is a client that I just actually closed a deal with. And the health score is 68% because I have all 4 pieces of information for her. And I met her through an open house, Liz.
Yay.
Hey. Now, neighborhood nurture, what you're doing with the neighborhood nurture when you first
I
is,
see that.
okay,
I
and you can,
don't know how to do it.
so you add it and you have 2 ways to do it. And so if I put Fort Lee in here, what it's going to do is it's going to give me different sections of Fort Lee. So it's going to say, so I put a town in, that's one way to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to find that on the map. And it's going to come up and it's going to,
Oh, thank you, Kathy.
it doesn't seem to be cooperating with me today, but this is the idea. Okay. And so you can type in and you can search for one. Sometimes the neighborhood isn't there. So then you can actually find it on the map. And a lot of times I had to go in and just find it on the map. Okay. And you're searching for a location. So if I'm searching for Leonia, you type in where you're searching for. Command must be tired today. But what it'll do is it'll hone in on that section, which is how I got Leonia in here to the first place. And then what happens is, so now I have a neighborhood nurture set up. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into smart plans and I'm going to add a smart plan. Now I didn't do this because I immediately started with a listing with her, but here's what I do. This is what I'm doing with my client. At minimum, this person that I'm talking to, that's just, she and I are just talking right now, that I met at the open house last August, is, so now what I'm doing is I'm adding them onto the monthly neighborhood nurture. So first I'm identifying what town or what area they're interested in. So this person lived in Leonia. So all I did was their nurture based on the town they're in. If they were a buyer I was working with, and let's say they wanted to learn about Cresskill, I would have put my neighborhood nurture as Cresskill, and then my monthly neighborhood nurture. And what this does is it tells you what it is. There's an automated email that comes out, and I select, and it tells me when it's going to start. And then what happens is that goes out automatically. I don't have to do anything else. And I got permission from the woman that I sent it to from the open house. And so she gets that monthly, and she reads it because that's that's the email she actually answered me on and asked me about kitchen cabinetry. Was my neighborhood nurture.
So that basically sends her it sends her like what type of information again?
So the information that comes out of it, what do you get? So here's the thing, what I'm going to say to you is that here's my recommendation. Add yourself into command as a contact. Set yourself up as a neighborhood nurture. Add yourself to the smart plan. What I do is before I use any smart plan is I add it myself so I can see what I'm getting back again. Because it's a great point, Liz. You want to know what your client is getting. I did the same thing with the app. So I downloaded my KW app and I do send it to some clients. But what I did was when I set it up, I have it set up as it being an agent, right? But I also then went into it using my personal email so I could see what my client was going to see. All
I
right.
need to learn how to do that.
So very simple, scottleroymarketing.com. He actually shows you how to set up your app, and he shows you how to set up your website.
No, I did the website, I have everything, and I have
App is
I did send it to her as well, and she kind of said that she set it up, but I'm not able to see what she's seeing yet. I don't know how to do that, but I'll figure it. Yeah.
So yeah, you can go back and you can look at that, but I would also, the best way for you to really see how it looks to the client is then once whatever you've done, even if you look at it right now where there's not been a lot of work, sign up as if you're a client. If you have a personal email, use the personal email. So you have your KW email as an agent, right? For being agent side, sign in as a client using your personal email. That way you can see what they're getting. And also if you make any changes to the website, you can go in and check and see how the changes look. That way you're on top of it and you're not surprised. And I do that with all my, like if I do a Facebook ad, I did that with my Facebook Smart Plan. I actually sent it to myself so I could see what they were getting. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So
I forgot, but I'll text you if anything.
just take a step forward every day. That's the biggest thing on it. But so I'm hoping we're going to wrap up. You guys have been so kind to stay with me. It's 7:08.
So informative. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Thank you.
I hope that this helped to connect the dots and for you to think twice about that database and how much money is sitting in your database waiting to go into your paycheck and to go into your bank account.
I'm going to get on that right away.
And, it's just
Yeah,
speed.
I just did.
What's that?
I just did. I just created myself a goal. Let's see how it goes.
Good. So I'm gonna, if any of you want this information from tonight, please just send me an email at bcpcoaches@kw.com, just putting that in the chat. So if you're looking for the deck that I used or the database Excel spreadsheet, I'm happy to share that with you. I'll send it to you. And I know that you guys are also interested in where you can find the Spanish listing presentation, buyer presentations, as well as if they have scripts that are also in Spanish.
Yes, I'll be helpful.
I'll find out all of those three things for you guys, okay?
Thank you.
So where are we emailing you?
Thank you.
bcpcoaches@kw.com.
Oh, we don't have to email you about the, I'm sorry, Naomi, so go ahead.
Just email me if you want the deck from tonight. If you want any of the presentation that I went through tonight, then just email me that you'd like that. And but I know that Liz, Elizabeth, and Naomi would like the Spanish version of the listing presentations and the scripts.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for the value.
Thank you.
Bye. Good night, everyone. Good night.
Good
Good night, everyone. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.